Well, so a disaster has befallen me. Although I think a hidden disaster was waiting in here. Well, that doesn't work very good. We'll just try it this way. Anyway. This is Ray's foot. So anyway, I'm cleaning this all up. I was replacing this cap. It starts as that. A little chain reaction of events has occurred. I unsoldered this cap. I want to get it out of there. And it's hooked to this tie point, which is this tube pin. And I started heating it, and it looked really blobby. If you look at it, it's very blobby and very odd looking. And I think what happened was somebody broke that, and they just kind of cobbled it back together. There's enough there to solder to, and I think they just kind of gooned all that back together. Now, normally, you would be screwed at this point. And you'd have to take all this up. It's not a big job, it's just an annoying job to replace that socket. But this is where maybe, if you were clever, very clever, you saved yourself some trouble and you hung on to some old parts from an old chassis. You know, even though I don't normally reuse old sockets, sometimes there's some value in them. What the deal is here is the way these are put together, they're slid in here from the top. And there are two types. This is the little, kind of a little cup. I don't know if you can see it up on the top there. And it slides through, and this little tongue grabs it. This is the same way. Now, if we're living right, we can push that old one out. Ray looks very skeptical at this.
No, I'm just listening.
And we can pick one of these that looks good and push it out and clean it all up and then put it back in there. And it'd probably be a lot less work than taking all this out. This is not a common occurrence, or an uncommon occurrence is what I meant to say. Let's hope it doesn't happen too often. You're working with these and you get too rough with them and then they break, is what happens. But I don't think at this time I am actually to blame. But it doesn't really matter, we still got this problem. I've seen some real goon jobs. Some of these sockets are very flat phenolic, and I've actually seen guys wind the wire around the tube socket to get it to work. Yeah, about that. As long as the customer doesn't know, you're okay. So let's see what we can do to get this one out. Okay, what I did here is I pulled this pin, if this camera focuses. I pulled this pin all the way up, and then bent it a little bit. And we should be able to just slide that out like that. Presto, changeo. Now there is a possibility that this socket isn't right, but it looks pretty similar. So let me see if I can get that other one out of there without a fight. Maybe this little pick will help me out here. Okay, so what I did was I bent that and pushed it through, and it so broke up that there's nothing to push on anymore. So I took the old one and pushed it through, and now Ray's gonna grab the nub here and just pop that baby right out like that. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
It's grody.
You know, it's all full of flux is what it is. Nice. Well, if your tube doesn't work, you might want to give it a good washing with some alcohol. So these little tongues go inward. Actually, we'll look and see if this even looks the same. It's similar. Yeah, it's pretty close, isn't it? Good enough for government work. So we'll just pop that back in on the inside. We'll get this little probe and grab it. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to look through the camera and do this. Okie dokie, looks like we're back in business. That's interesting, all that gunk on there is flux. Apparently they must flux these ahead of time and then solder them. I'm amazed that thing even worked. Anyway, there's enough to do a few more sockets in there. We'll just hang on to that baby. Okie dokie, well, saved by the bell. Now I gotta untangle all this mess, and that actually, you know, I think I might just trim that wire out of there and just leave this go. It's just soldered right there on that ground lug in this.